right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, and thank you for sticking around for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments at the 93.7 The Fan Cam, and we're taking your phone calls tonight at 412-575-2600 is the number, and we definitely have a lot of things to talk about. The Pitt volleyball team lost in the semifinals, the Final Four for the 5th straight season. The Penguins got shut out 4-0 in Ottawa. So Sidney Crosby is still searching for that elusive 1 point to tie Mario Lemieux. And the Steelers, TJ Watt was at the facility, didn't practice again today, but Derek Harmon did. They're headed to Detroit this week and a 7-point underdog in that game. And, I want to buy the Steelers right now. I want to buy on this team. I feel pretty good. They did some good things on offense and defense, and they did it without TJ Watt last week. They're not going to have him again this week. But is it a mirage? Are they fooling us again?
Well, I think it's going to look like one this week because I think they're taking a dramatic step up in weight class with the Lions, and I'm aware of Detroit's struggles in that if the season ended today, they wouldn't be in the NFC playoffs, and there's a very good chance, Rich, that they won't be in the NFC playoffs, period. Now, that conference is a lot stronger than the AFC, but I think for at least 1 week, they're going to get beat up on a team's home field, a team that really wants to run the ball and is good at it, a team that has a quarterback that if he's kept clean can pick just about anybody in the league apart. The number 1 scoring offense in the league, the number 4 total offense in the league. They're good at everything. They do everything well. I'm actually quite surprised the Lions have as many losses as they do. So I think for this week only, it's going to look like, wait a minute, where was the team that beat up on Miami? Because they're going to be playing a much better team on the road. I think the real question, Rich, and I always try to find something other than what I'm about to say to analyze a situation because I don't just like going to the most obvious answer here is, if you get an Aaron Rodgers that looks sort of like he has the last 2 weeks, or more or less does look like he has the last 2 weeks, then I think you've got a real chance here because that guy has been a picture of efficiency. He's spread the ball around. He's used the whole field, especially against the Dolphins. If the quarterback of this team is playing at a level that's closer to maybe pre-injury Ben Roethlisberger than we've really seen since then sure. In a one-game spot, they could knock off just about anybody, but I think there are still some obvious holes on this team, some deficiencies, and they'd have to get the right matchup if they make the playoffs, for me to feel good about them.
So in your opinion, what has really changed on offense? Is it really that Adam Thielen and MVS make a huge difference, or do you think that Aaron Rodgers is kind of like Ben Roethlisberger in the fourth quarter of his last 2 years and just doing things on his own, kind of scrapping the offense and changing some things up?
No, I don't think he's scrapping it. No, I do think that Rodgers and Arthur Smith have an actual good relationship as opposed to the fake one that we were told chapter and verse over and over again Russell Wilson had with Arthur Smith. Remember, they were FaceTiming each other's spouses so that they would know they were working at the facility. Sorry, we aren't home, honey. We've just got to pour over tape. I mean, that was so forced and absurd. It was classic Russell Wilson. So it's obvious that Rodgers has now taken some different shots in the playbook and maybe plays that are designed to go one way, he goes a different way or picks like the third option as sort of his first choice. And it's obvious that Arthur Smith is fine with that. I think he uses the middle of the field suddenly a little bit more. He did against the Dolphins. And as far as Thielen and MVS, we know he respects Thielen. We know he's played with MVS before. I do think for Rodgers there is a comfort and a familiarity factor and a trust factor where those guys are going to be where they are supposed to be, when they are supposed to be there. And I do think an exacting guy like Rodgers, who we know to be sort of a taskmaster in that regard, appreciates that. What that doesn't say anything good for is specifically Roman Wilson and to a lesser extent Calvin Austin, because it's clear that Wilson, especially in Austin, somewhat have not gained Rodgers' trust in that regard. So I think he's playing more comfortable. I think he's playing more confident. Whether that stays the course here remains to be seen.
But maybe another part to that question, do defenses respect MVS and Thielen more than, say, Austin or Roman Wilson, which kind of opens things up a little bit, especially for DK Metcalf and maybe the middle of the field with Pat Freiermuth?
I mean, I really don't think Adam Thielen at 35 years old scares anybody. MVS is not going to win a dead foot race anymore like he used to. I think Austin would probably scare those teams the most if he was 3 inches taller and ran like he did, because pure speed is always the scariest thing. But I just think from an offensive standpoint, the Steelers are able to stay on schedule, more with a couple of receivers in the passing game who, like I said, just hit their landmarks. I know this is rote stuff. If you study the NFL, if you ever watch some of the film analysis that goes on, it's just pretty obvious that from Rodgers' perspective, Wilson in particular, and to some degree Austin, maybe weren't hitting the marks on the field at the times Rodgers wanted them to hit them. And so if your quarterback suddenly thinks everybody's kind of moving and doing their little part in the ballet more on time and more synchronized, then he's probably going to make the offense look better. And so far, I think that's what's happened these last 2 weeks.
All right, this is our Xfinity tweet of the night. Pitt volleyball, they lost a tough one again here this year in the Final Four. An incredible season comes to an end in the national semifinal. Chris, it's the 5th straight year they lose in the semifinal game. This time they got swept 3-0. The first time they got swept all year. I guess it was kind of a disappointing end to a spectacular season, a season where I thought they had a legit shot at maybe winning it all.
Well, they were the favorite, I believe, once undefeated Nebraska, got upset by this very same team. But I feel bad for the team, for the players, for the coach, obviously. But I think I can pinpoint the exact moment where their season went up in flames, and it was before this match even started. At the end of today's PM team, Andrew T. Filipponi predicted that they would sweep Texas A&M on their way to a national championship. Case closed here, Rich. You don't have to be Dick Tracy or Encyclopedia Brown to figure out why they lost. The pony curse is real. The pony curse is strong. And as great a program as Dan Fisher has built up there, it is still not strong enough yet to surmount the pony curse. As a matter of fact, the only people we've seen maybe best pony when he predicts good things for them are Paul Skeens. I can't even put Crosby in here. He put Crosby's career in the toilet in 2012, and look at what Sid's done since. Paul Skeens is the only person who's proven powerful enough to have ponies say good things about him and then actually back them up. Look what he did to Kenny Pickett. My God.
I know.
The guy might be out of the NFL after this year.
You know, I've honestly never seen anything like it, that my friends bet against his picks. And they're probably doing pretty well because whatever he picks, if you go against it, you've done well, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years, as far back as I can remember. It's amazing how bad his predictions are.
Richie, if your friends are consistent, if they're consistently fading Pony's picks, then they are probably all living in palatial estates and worried about capital gains tax. Anyway. All
right. You know, who do you think that now we're getting into the draft, and there's still 3 games left for the season, but they're in deep trouble again at the most important position, the quarterback position. That's unless maybe Rodgers comes back, but he'll be 43 at that point. Does he come back? We don't know that. The free agent market, it looks awful if you're trying to get a quarterback in free agency. Even if Miami and the Cardinals would cut their quarterbacks to and Kyler Murray, I don't know if you want those guys. And this draft went from being a really good quarterback draft to now not so much. So I would not draft a quarterback in the first round at least. For me, it's a wide receiver. I'm going with the 44% there because they need a number 2 wide receiver. You know, they didn't listen to anyone outside of the organization, and then for the 2nd straight year did not get a number 2 receiver. Maybe they'll do it next year.
I mean, I don't think you can take O-line, which is the 3rd choice there, I know, and only about 10% of people are actually picking it. You've allocated a lot of high picks recently to your O-line, so you've got to hope that Jones can show that he means business next year when he comes back. I mean, Cook obviously was a nice little story for a game. We'll see how that progresses. I don't think quarterback's the play either, Rich. I'm with you. It's wide receiver. Mendoza, it could be Mendoza, who I think is pretty obviously worthy of being the number 1 overall pick. I do think that guy is going to be a good NFL player, maybe even a very good one, which, I mean, if you get a good to very good quarterback at the number 1 overall pick, I think that's pretty good. I think most teams would take that. But after him, I mean, Arch Manning's going back to school. Lenore Sellers is going back to school. Some of these other guys, Klubnik, my God, I would want no part of him. He was a projected 1st rounder when the year started. Nussmeier from LSU, I think, is an interesting player, but as a, 3rd round pick, maybe, because I don't think you're getting classic size there. You know, you keep seeing Ty Simpson get mocked to the Steelers at 20 or whatever, or wherever they're going to end up picking. I think that would be a horrible mistake. The kid's got a good arm. Don't get me wrong. He's got a much better arm from what I can recall seeing than Kenny did, but not a physically big guy. I think he's mobile enough.
You can't reach. You can't reach again.
You wonder about
it already
that.
failed.
Well, I think Mendoza's the only slam dunk first rounder who we know is going to be in the draft this year, and he's not going to be available to them. So I think get a wide receiver. I think get a playmaker. I think Carnell Tate's probably going to be long gone.
You do? Jordan Tyson will be gone too then, right?
Tyson's an injury risk, but Tyson's explosive. Yeah, I mean, you look at from LSU, from USC, Lemon. I mean, he's somebody who's not going to have like prototypical size necessarily to be that 6'2", 6'3" guy, but you're seeing the 5'11" types, the 6-footers thrive at wide receiver right now. He's got juice, and if he's there, I'd probably pick him. They need a playmaker. I mean, they need somebody opposite DK Metcalf that makes defenses actually stay up with a little bit of fear the night before the game.
All right, let's go out to Mark out in Pittsburgh. How you doing, Mark?
Hi. Hypothetical. If the Steelers-Ravens games ends up being meaningless, do you let Will Howard have a chance?
I think they probably would go with Mason Rudolph. Maybe they would give Will Howard a chance in the second half, but I think it would be Mason Rudolph. Chris, I don't know what your gut feeling is, but, I mean, there is a chance that could be meaningless. If the Steelers, say, lose this Lions game but win that Browns game and the Ravens lose one of their games, they'll seal it.
Well, they need to lose both.
Win the next two, they definitely seal it.
The Steelers either need to win the next two and have the Ravens lose one, or win the Browns game and have the Ravens lose their next two, which I think is the much more likely possibility than the Steelers going 2-0 and the Ravens going 1-1. I actually think the Ravens could go 0-2, although I wouldn't bet on it. As far as what I would do in that game 18, I'm actually glad we got people who are still so hyped for the Will Howard Express that that's where their minds are at right now. If, in fact, that game is meaningless, you know what, Rich? I would actually treat it just like the Chiefs treated Patrick Mahomes in what was technically his rookie season. Let Will Howard start. Let's get a prelude to greatness right now for Will Howard, who has taken how many snaps this year in practice? Like, what are we talking about here?
A handful of them.
I mean, the most I would give it is Mason Rudolph for a half and maybe consider a second half of Will Howard in a game that truly doesn't matter. If you just want Rudolph to knock the rust off in the event that Rodgers gets knocked out and he's needed to go in. But, man, otherwise, I think Will Howard has very, 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 very little chance of being in the Steelers' plan seriously as a starting quarterback option moving into the future. And I know that people don't want to hear that, but he was picked in the 6th round, Rich.
You know, I think maybe the bigger question here is, will that game be meaningless? Because I don't think it will.
I think the Ravens are probably going to win this week, and so I think that they're going to enter Week 17 with the Steelers in a tie again. They're both going to be 8-7. I suspect the Steelers are going to beat the Browns to get to 9-7 at that point. I think the Ravens are going to lose to go to 8-8, and then it's going to be meet me in the schoolyard for all the marbles again at Acrisure Stadium, and it's going to be Ravens-Steelers.
But I think at that point, Chris, I think the Steelers automatically, even if they lost and they were tied, they have the third tiebreaker, which is AFC record.
Rich, I have done the ESPN playoff machine a million times, and if it's changed since then, I could have sworn that in almost any situation where the Steelers go in with a one-game lead if the Ravens win, and I might be wrong, so don't quote me.
Yeah, I'm going to go check the ESPN
that is
playoff
my
machine
understanding.
Now. All right.
Yes.
I'll check it out, and we'll figure it out. Not a lot of time here left, but Steelers have a big one on Sunday in Detroit, a 4:25 kickoff. What do you think is going to happen? How do they win that game, Chris? A 7-point underdog. I give them a chance. It's going to be a tough one, but I hope it doesn't end up like the Buffalo game.
I feel like this reeks of 38-24, 38-27. I think the Steelers might stay close for a half, and you would think with Detroit melting down in their last game in the second half, that would be enough. But I think the Lions have too much offense, and they pull away. Steelers need to win a turnover battle in a big way to win this game.
So that's what would be the difference for you. What if, Aaron Rodgers plays a pretty solid, efficient game like he did last week, and they possess the ball, more plays?
No, I think he's going to have to be spectacular because I think they're not going to get to Goff, and when you don't get to Jared Goff in his career historically, he carves up any defense he sees if that defense isn't routinely putting him on his back. That's how good he is. He's a classic, perfect 7-on-7 quarterback in the NFL.
What kills the Steelers the most in this game? Do you think it's Gibbs, Montgomery, or do you think it's the receivers?
I think it's Gibbs and St. Brown. I just don't think they have answers for those guys, Rich. I really don't. They're two of the best in the league for a reason, and Dan Campbell has been dialing up all the right stuff since he took over play calling duties.
Do you think the Ravens win? Then I think you said that you think they're going to win. I think they're going to lose this week.
I do.
The Ravens.
Well, I think the Ravens are going to win because I think there are some cracks in that New England defense, and they were really bad offensively, too, when Buffalo mounted that comeback. Jackson is just looking incrementally more healthy. I think just beating a horrible Bengals team gave them a little bit of life, and I think they're going to continue it for this week. So, yeah, I do think this gets tighter in the AFC North.
All right, Chris, we'll see you next weekend, and have a great holiday.
And if you want to get your opinion heard, don't forget to tune in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call tonight at 10:35 on KDKA+. So give us a call at 412-575-2600. We do it every night after the 10 o'clock news. For CBS News Pittsburgh, I'm Rich Walsh.